are going to start out very, very basic. Today, we are going to start with archiving a class if you have had a Google Classroom before, and I'll tell you why. But really quick before, make sure that your name is showing the way that it does on your badge. First name, last name, please. No nicknames. That is for attendance purposes so that you get credit for being here today. Okay. Again, this is going to be recorded and you're going to be able to find it at this link. I am Joanne Willis. I am the instructional technology coach at Just Cole Elementary, but I'm available to you if you have questions after the session or any other questions. All of us Tech TOSAs are very friendly and ready to help you out with anything that you may need. So feel free to email, reach out with any questions that you have. So today we're going to archive your class if you've already had one. We're going to set up a new one. I'm going to show you how students are going to get into Google Classroom. I'm going to introduce you to topics, which will help organize your Google Classroom. I'm going to show you how to create assignments. There's a few different ways that you can do that. And we'll just be scratching the surface today. Again, this is a beginner course. If you've already been using Google Classroom, I apologize in advance if I am covering things that you already know. So I'm going to also show you how to check student work and leave some comments for them when they've submitted their work. We'll also hopefully have time for some questions and answers. And feel free to put questions in the chat, like I said before. So here we go. I had put in my slide deck a great YouTube video that is from Melissa Culver. She is our Clovis North area elementary TOSA, and she's fabulous. And she did a great Google Classroom video. So this is another one that you can refer to if you have any questions along the way. So how are we going to get to Google Classroom? You're going to want to get to Google Classroom through your Google Drive. There's actually two ways. You can manually type in classroom.google.com to get there. Most of the time we go through our drive and then we click on what's called the waffle. Some people call it an array, some people call it the waffle, you can call it whatever you want. I refer to it as the waffle for my students because I feel like they always remember that. So you're going to get to Classroom that way. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hop into Google Chrome and do that. So I'm already signed into my drive, and what I've done is I've saved my drive here on my favorites bar or my bookmarks. And so it's there. I just click on it as soon as I open Google Chrome to get to it. Then you are going to, I need to drag this out of the way, click on that waffle, like I said. I wanted to share this little tip with you. Some people don't know this, but when you are in here, this is just like your phone, and these are apps that are in your Google Apps for Education account. These can be drug around. So if you want to put Classroom right at the top, I use Classroom and Drive the most, so I keep them right up there at the top. I'm going to go ahead and click on Classroom. Now, if you've never used Google Classroom before, you're going to get some pop-ups that the rest of us won't have. So if you've never accessed Google Classroom, it's going to ask if your address is you, and you should just be able to click on your Google account. And then it's also going to ask you if you are a teacher or a student. And again, that's if you've never opened Google Classroom before. So go ahead and navigate through those screens. And now you can see I have a lot of Google Classrooms because being a Tech TOSA, I'm a co-teacher with a lot of other teachers on campus. I also have some practice classrooms. I recommend that you guys create practice classrooms with groups of teachers that you work with. So if you are in a grade level or you teach a specific subject and your area or your group of teachers wants to play around in Google Classroom and practice with each other, I recommend doing that. It's a great way to get to know Google Classroom. you can actually make a teacher a student or a teacher. So I'll get into that later, but what I did with my kindergarten teachers was I added them to a classroom, and I added them as students so that they could see what Google Classroom looks like as a student. Since we can all see what it looks like as a teacher, it's nice to be able to have the student view. So I recommend doing that with your team if you want to play. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing that I always do at the beginning of a school year, or that I recommend, we haven't done it here at Cole because we haven't used Google Classroom a ton, but I use it all the time with students, but the teachers usually use it to access projects that I'm doing in the lab with them. So what you'd want to do, this is a class from last year. If you have a class from last year and you want to archive it, this is how you would do it. You would go to these three dots and you would click archive. And some of you may think, oh my gosh, I did a lot of work in my Google Classroom last year. I don't want to just get rid of it. It's not getting rid of it. You'll still be able to access it, and you'll still actually be able to reuse assignments from that Google Classroom if needed. So you can just click archive and then click archive again. And what you'll do is you'll see over here, anytime you see the three lines or the three dots, it means that there's some kind of drop-down menu. So if I go to these three lines, I can see that at the very bottom of all these classes I have is a folder that's called Archive Classes. That class was just moved down there and out of my line of sight when I first get in. Okay, so you can see it's not showing up at the top of my screen. Also, just so you know, if you guys are working with other teachers and you don't want their classroom to be at the front of your list here, these are, didn't mean to click on that. These are movable, so you can just click and drag them wherever you want them to be. They always just will be placed automatically in order by creation. So the newest class always pops up in the beginning. Okay, so now let's go into creating your new Google Classroom for this school year. You're going to come over here to the plus sign, and you're going to have two options. Your students are only going to have one option. If your students are a student, they'll only be able to join classes. You have the option to join classes and create classes. Today, you want to create a new class. Now, you can create a class and get rid of it. Like I said, you can make a practice one and get rid of it, or you can actually create the class that you're going to use with your students when we're back. So I clicked Create Class. Now, when you create a class name, I recommend using the school year date. So this year's 2021. And the reason I recommend that is because when you create a Google Classroom, Google creates a folder in your drive that houses all the assignments for that class. And I'm going to show you that later. But that's another reason why you might not want to just name your classroom your last name, because when you go to that folder and you want to look at student work from last year, you're not going to be able to know which folder is which. So it's best to create a new fresh class each year so that it is organized in Google Drive. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I have a lot of these already from teaching. So I'm going to do Willis 2021 because I haven't used that one yet, I don't think. Now, the next three boxes are optional. So if you are a high school teacher or junior high teacher, you might want to put your section or your subject there. Room number doesn't really apply to us since we're not going to be here, but when we are, that might be something that's handy for your students to have that information. So again, only the top one's required, and you can leave the others blank. So you're going to go ahead and click Create. And as that Google Classroom is creating, am I working at an okay pace? Does anybody have questions? Okay. How are we doing? I see a little bit going on in chat. Anything that needs my attention?
Question was, once you create a class, can you edit it?
Yes, absolutely. I'll get into that, okay? That's a great question, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. So we have a new class here. And the first thing, because we're teachers and we like the way we like things to be personalized, or we like the way things look and we want them to be our own. Many of you are automatically going to look at this picture and go, I don't really like that picture, or I really like that picture, so you can save it. But you can come down here and it's going to give you some, a library of pictures that you can choose from that you may like to choose, okay? So any of these you can apply to your classroom. If you see that, so for example, this one's purple, if I select that as my theme, it's also going to change a few other things on the screen. So for example, it made my words, it has highlights around the page that's going to be, your whole theme is kind of purple in that way. So that is something to know about changing the theme. You can absolutely upload a photo. A lot of people, it's all the rage right now to create a bitmoji classroom. And I went ahead and did that. And my last class wanted to know how to do that. And we don't have time to do that today, but I will, actually, I think I put the link in your slide deck that has a great tutorial video in YouTube of how to make your bitmoji classroom. Just a kind of fun little touch to add to your class. So again, I had already created this picture, saved it to my computer. So any picture you have saved to your computer that applies to your classroom, maybe not a picture of your family, but a picture of something that, even a pretty picture of scenery, like a beach or a forest or something that you like to spruce up your class. So I'm going to go ahead and click select class theme. It's going to change that picture there for me. So again, just a fun little touch, not necessary, but fun. Okay, so now we're going to get into classroom settings, and that is going to answer the question that was asked. If you look up here, you have a settings gear. That's going to be your station where you can change things that you want to change if you didn't create them the way you wanted. So if you want to change your title, you can change it there. You can add all of these descriptions if you'd like. Then when we get down here to the general settings, I want to cover this. This is really important, especially if you teach young children. Well, and older children too. So it applies to everybody. This class code, I wish that we could make it our own and you could make whatever code you want, but Google hasn't allowed that yet. So if you click here, and I'd like to get one that's a good example for me. Let me see. Oops, I didn't mean to disable it. Working too fast. So what I wanted to do, what I meant to click was reset. So if I click that reset, there's a few letters on the keyboard, and I'm not getting any right now, that are tough for the kids. For example, if you get a lowercase L in there, without a doubt, you are going to have, if you look at your keyboard, a lowercase L looks like an uppercase I on the keyboard. Students will enter it wrong, and it's going to take you time to get students in because they're going to make a mistake. Same with O's and zeros. You need to make sure that you get a class code that your students can easily put in. So you can reset as many times as you need to get a code that you think will be good for your students. And again, this mostly applies to the younger students that get those types of things mixed up. Okay, and then now we're getting into some security things. Students can post and comment. I always start out the year with only teachers can post or comment. And sometimes I keep it that way all year long, depending on the class and their digital citizenship skills. When I first started teaching Google Classroom, I didn't really know that was a setting because I was still learning as I went. And the very first day, the very first class, a boy typed poop on the classroom stream. Everybody in the class saw it at the same time. Everybody laughed. I laughed because I was like, whoops, I don't really know what I'm doing. So a good learning experience for me. I never forget to change this anymore. So I have that set. And again, later when you teach your kids or your students good digital citizenship and you trust them, you can open that up for students to make comments. They can always send you a private comment. Like if they have a question about an assignment, they can send a comment that goes directly to you. Nobody else sees it. So again, that's a teacher preference, how much you want to be monitoring your stream. Classwork on the stream. This is another personal preference thing. Show attachments and details. Okay, so let's say that we post an assignment where you want your students to watch a brain pop video. There's an assignment, and then they also are going to go use a website to research something. Do you want those details to show up on your stream, or do you want it just condensed and just to say, so if it's on, let's say it's on planet, is it going to just say planet research, or are they going to see a full view of the link to the website and a video? So again, personal preference. Was there a question for me? Doing okay? Okay, so I'm going to click to show announcements and details. All right. Show deleted items. I don't think your students need to see assignments that you've deleted. So I would, oh, it's only for your teachers. I just keep that off. I don't change that. We're not currently using Google Meet because it just doesn't meet our security requirements at this time. So that's why we're using Zoom. You can definitely use the Google Meet with your grade level or teacher friends. Okay. So we're not going to even get into grading today either. That's going to be a whole nother video that is offered to you guys on our curriculum instruction website. We have TechToasters creating videos that go into more depth. So with only an hour, we don't have time to really get into that. So if you've made any changes on this page, it's going to be important that you click save. Okay. So that's going to save all those classroom settings. You can go in there anytime and make changes to them as needed. Okay, so after we've done that, now how are students going to get in your class? That's what we're going to go over really quick. I'm going to go. Okay, what was that?
What are Guardian summaries? That was a question I was asked before you go on.
Guardian summaries? I don't know. Was that in the settings and I just didn't see it?
I don't know. That was just a question that was asked in the chat.
Okay. If the person that asked that question can go ahead and unmute themselves and ask, then that will help me understand that question.
Hi, it's Shauna. It showed up in my settings. It was right after we set the privacy links. It just said Guardian summaries, and it had like an on-off switch.
Oh.
I don't know why that's on mine and not on yours, but I don't even know what that is.
And was it in the general settings?
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
it was,
and
yeah.
you're in your Clovis Unified?
Yeah, it says it's right below show deleted items.
Oh, okay.
And it has an on-off switch.
Okay. So I'll have to get back to you on that. I will get an answer for you and get back to you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why I don't have that. So I will find out for you and let you know. You got it. Okay. Because as far as I know, our parents don't have access to Google Classroom. We don't share that with them. Only students are accessing their Google Classroom, of course, unless they're sitting with their parent. Google Classroom does have an app, and I know that there are some parents that have the Google Classroom app signed in as their students on their phone, just so that they know when their students have things due. But it is nice to recommend to your families, if students have mobile devices, they can get push notifications from Google Classroom if it's on a mobile device, which is kind of nice. So when their teacher posts something, they get notified. So Google Classroom does have a very nice app to use, as well as their Gmail, so that they can stay in contact with you. Okay, so back to inviting students. So I'm going to go back to my slide deck, and I'm going to skip through some of these because I already went over this stuff. Okay, so when your students are getting into Google Classroom for the first time, we encourage our students to all use Clever as much as possible, because that's going to be the easiest access to all of their accounts. So they're going to first go to clever.cusd.com. They're going to go to their Google Drive. It's going to assign them into their Google Drive. They'll go to the Waffle in Classroom. Now, I want to make sure you guys see this down here. This is a PDF that you can supply to your parents and your students that gives them step-by-step instructions of how to get to Google Classroom. Very nice piece of information to have for you to give at the beginning of school. This is also a video that you can share maybe to parents in an email or on your teacher website. This is going to be a video that's a student tutorial of how to get to Google Classroom. So 2 really good resources there for you.
And John, do you know if the app is free?
It's free, yes. All Google apps are free. Good question. Okay, so when your students are going to join your class, they're going to do the same thing as you. They're going to click on the plus sign and they're going to enter your class code. Now, that class code needs to be given out to families securely. There's 2 ways students can join your class. They can join by entering your class code, or you can manually invite them. And I'm going to go over exactly how to do that. It's not as easy as having a teacher join your class, but it is something that is possible to do. And I'll go over that with you right now. So when you want other people, students or other teachers, you're going to go to the People tab. We're skipping classwork right now because we're going to spend a good amount of time in that after this. So we're going to go to the People tab, and you can see that there's a little person with a plus sign here. I can invite other teachers to my class. So for example, I might invite Sherry Johnston to my class. You'll see I started typing in her name and it auto-populated a list of people with that spelling, and all I did was click on her name. Very, very easy. I recommend adding anybody that gives you tech support, whether it's someone in your grade level or department or your tech TOSA. I recommend adding them to your class so that they can help you. They can hop on their computer at any time and get onto your class and see what it is that you have a question about and help you with it right there. So again, I recommend adding people to it that you think might be able to help you. Okay, so I'm not actually going to invite her because I think Sherry deals with enough emails. She doesn't need to see another one. So I'm going to click cancel. And again, this is how you can add students. Like I said, it's way faster if students just enter the code on their own, and our older kids are really good at this. But if you're concerned, like you have kindergartners or you are special ed and you're concerned about your kids being able to get on and understand how to type in a code to join your class, you can manually add them. So you're going to come over here and you're going to click on it. It's just not as clean. So I probably shouldn't use my daughter on here, but that's okay. So you'll see that as I'm typing, see how it's not auto-populating anybody? It will eventually, but it takes all the way up until the CO to auto-populate anybody. So you have to type in this is your student's username with @cusd.com. One of the most common questions that I got in the spring from parents, teachers, students was, what's my Google email? Okay, their Google email is cusdstudent.com. Ours as teachers is the clovisusd.k12.ca.us, the really ridiculously long one. Well, that's our domain, and then students are on their own domain. Students, and if you have parents asking, students cannot receive email from anybody outside of Clovis Unified. So if a parent wants to send their child an email to this address, it's not going to go through because that's a security issue. Okay, we want our students only doing school email on their school account. Okay, so I went off on a little tangent, but those are important details that you may need to know. So again, if you want to invite your students, you're going to have to put their full username and password in there, click on their name, click invite. And then what's going to happen, I'm going to go back to my slide deck now because I have examples of this in here. When your student gets into Google Classroom, they follow the steps, they go to Clever, they go to their Google Drive, they get to Classroom, they're going to see a box that looks like this. They don't have to type in that code. They're already going to see your class there. They don't have to click the plus sign. They're just going to see this box show up, and all they have to do is click join. So it makes it really easy for your students, but it's more work for you. So again, that's your preference of what you want to do to invite your student into the class. Okay.
And Joanne, if you had a teacher to your group, if you had a teacher to your class, do they receive all of your posts?
They will get emails. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I need to look that up and see if that's something that you can turn off the notifications if you're a teacher in the class. So I'll get back to that question and I can add it to the slide deck once I get the answer. Okay. So in that PDF that I told you was for students and parents, they're going to see this. If a student has never ever been on Google Classroom before, like a kindergarten child, or I know some of our first graders were on last year, but there's a lot of kids that have never been onto Google Classroom. So they're going to see this box and it's going to have their Google account there, and they'll click continue. They need to pick I'm a student. If they accidentally click I'm a teacher, it takes some time to fix that. I know that we've had some teachers accidentally click I'm a student, and our tech department has had to fix that, but there is a way to fix it. So if accidents happen, so we can usually fix things like that. So again, I showed you how to invite teachers. This is how to invite teachers. When you start typing in their names, it auto-populates some of the teachers. I threw in another great video from Melissa. She's great at recording all of these tutorial videos and sharing them out. Okay, so now let's go to the stream. I'm gonna go back to my classroom, okay? If I'm done adding people, I can get out of the people tab and I can go pop back over to the stream. Google Classroom always defaults to the stream. Now your stream, and I'm gonna pop over to another class. Okay, so you can see I can hop over to a different class over here. Okay, so you'll see in the stream that any activity that is happening on Google Classroom is going to automatically be on your stream. So this is like your social media basically for your class. Whatever you post, the most recent post is always at the top. So you can see, remember how I talked about the condensed notifications? This one, see how it's expanded? There's a little bit more information here. That is what I was talking about, is you can have them condensed like this, or you can have them show the actual attachments to the assignments in here. But again, this is just kind of a place for you to, or for students to keep track of what you are posting to the classroom. Now we're gonna go over to the class work tab. Okay. And this is where you will create anything that you're doing in Google Classroom. So you'll see this big create tool up here. When you click on that, you have several options. We can do, and we're going to go through all of these, but before I go through these top 5, I want to cover what topics are used for. And again, this is another preference to how you want to organize your class. If you want to organize your class by subject, you can have a math topic over here. You can have language arts. If you're only teaching one subject, you can choose to have it done by quarter, by week. Again, however, I don't have a recommendation because this is a very personal preference. So you'll see that what I did was I created topics by week, because what I can do is I can have students come to their classwork and they can see everything that we're going to do in Google Classroom for the week. Or maybe I'm posting daily. Okay, I'm not sure. That's going to be up to you. But again, this is just kind of like a folder that houses whatever you assign to them. So I can put all of the math assignments in one section. Again, just your preference there. So you can see I have week 1 blank because I think the first week of school, we're going to be giving students their materials and their devices and things like that. What I would recommend posting in the first week is maybe some get to know you activities where students that can get on and that have access to a device and know how to get on Google Classroom can have some fun little activities to do while we're waiting for the rest of the class to join the classroom. So to create a topic, you can see I already have week 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to hop down here and I'm going to click topic. And I'm going to go ahead and just add week 4 here. I'm not going to add the dates because I don't want to open up my calendar and waste time. So you're going to see that whenever you add a topic, it's just like the stream. Anything that's the newest is going to pop up at the top. So if you don't want week 4 at the top, you might when it is week 4, but for right now, you're probably wanting week 1 at the top. Again, I've told you that when you go to these 3 little dots, it's going to give you some drop-down options. So I can move this down. It's only going to move down 1 slot at a time. So you can see it's after week 1. So I can keep moving that down. It will allow me to move it back up. But for now, I want it to be under week 3. So that's how you can move topics around. Now, when week 1 is over, I might want to move it all the way down to the bottom and move week 2 back up to the top. Again, just another way to keep your Google Classroom organized for your students and for you. So that's topics. Now we want to go over how to create an assignment. And I'm going to show you what I did was I went into my Google Drive and I went into the CUSD curriculum guides that Debbie told us about. And I went into the folders to see what was already there from Benchmark. And there was already some PDFs in there that I could use in my Google Classroom. So that is what I did. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to click Create an Assignment. Okay, so when you click Create an Assignment, you can title the assignment. You can put specific instructions for your students. You don't have to put instructions, but like if it's something that your students do all the time, they may not need instructions. So again, that is an optional thing. So down here, you can see that you can attach things to your Google assignment. I recommend anything that you're going to assign in Google, just store it in your Google Drive. It makes it so much easier for your students. If you're still creating things in Word documents, I really recommend that you convert them into a Google Doc before you try to use them on Classroom. It's just going to be a lot easier for your students to use and manipulate if it's a Google Doc. There are, as you know, some of you have already taken the Google Slides presentation, or you've taken the other Google, what was it? Oh, Forms. So this would be somewhere where you could add a Google form for your students. So that's what you can do here. So that's what I'm going to do right now to show you an example. I'm going to go to my Google Drive. Now, things that you've worked on recently are going to pop up in your recent. Okay, so what you are going to do is find whatever it is that you want to assign your students. So you can see I have this document as a PDF, and I also have it as a Google slide. So I kind of want to show you guys what a PDF one looks like. And I was looking for, oh yeah, this is the one I was looking for. This is the one I did in my other class. So it's really handy to be able to have this recent tab so that you can see things that you've been using. Most likely you've probably just created something. It's going to be sitting right there at the top so that you can access it. So I'm going to click on that, and then this insert pops up. I'm going to click insert. So this is a high frequency words little handout for students to practice putting these high frequency words in sentences. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to title this Now, a lot of you are going to want to keep this organized. And so you can see this says grade 2, unit 1, week 1. So you may want to put that in the front or the back of your activity so that you can keep track of it when you are going to grade it or check to see if students did it. You can use the U1, W1. You might want to put it in the back just for your students because they might get confused as to what that means, or you might want to actually put the words for them. Another recommendation that I have for titles for young students is something that came from Karina, and what she did was she uses Emojipedia. So I'm going to show you that really quick. Emojipedia has all your emojis in here, and so what she has done is with the little ones, she's come in here and because we are going to have kindergarten kiddos on here that can't read, she's used emojis to identify what certain assignments are. Like she did like a little chart, like a graph chart for math. And there's also some, you know, like a book for reading. So you can use those emojis. All you do is come in here and you can grab an emoji and there's a copy button. So you just simply copy and paste it. Very fun for your kids. It makes things, if you say, okay, you guys, I need you to go to Google Classroom. I need you to go to the assignment that has a star or a heart. So I can just do Shift B. Whoops. Oh, I didn't copy it, I guess. Okay, there we go. See, even I. Okay, so Control B, sorry. Okay. So anyway, so you can use those in there. A little side note. You'll want to add instructions for your students. Here is going to be the most important part of creating an assignment. Students can view the file. Do I want students just to view it? If it's just a resource for them to use, like maybe a multiplication chart, then yeah, I would only want them to be able to view it. But in this case, I want them interacting with it. So I want them to edit it, right? No, you don't want them to edit it, because if you allow that, then every single student is going to be editing that same document that you shared all at the same time. So you definitely do not want that option. It will be a mess. There are some fun activities that you can use with that option, but in this case, not what I want. You want to make a copy for each student. Basically, what that means is that when a student gets into Google Classroom, they click on this assignment, they're going to have a blank template of this assignment for them to work in, okay? So most of the time when you have an interactive assignment like this, you are going to want to make a copy for each student. Now, be warned that if you forget this step and you create the whole thing and you assign it, There's no editing that part. You can edit assignments, but for whatever reason, well, it's because it makes all of those copies and puts it in your Google Drive, and you can't really take that back. So you'd actually have to delete this assignment and do it over if you forget that step. So make sure that you remember that step. It's very critical. So you'll want to have that, again, add instructions. Now, this part is really cool. So let's say you are teaching a second grade class, like this is a second grade assignment, and you show your grade level this PDF, and you're like, oh, look, I found this really great activity for our kids to do. Well, if you're a co-teacher with your teacher friends, you can simply check all of the classrooms that you want this posted to in just a couple checks, okay? So I'm gonna post this assignment to 3 different classes, okay? So that's something that you can do. Now, it's not allowing me to select students here because I don't have students in some of these classes. So I'm gonna uncheck these. And now you'll see I can select students. So I have all of my little tech friends in here. They're my little guinea pigs. So I'm gonna say, okay, so maybe only Courtney and Delane need this extra practice because last time I gave a high frequency word activity, they didn't do so well. So I want them to try to practice a little more. So I can add just a few students. You can choose how many points you want this to be. You can choose that it be ungraded. You just want them to engage in the activity and you're not worried about it. You can make it 10 points. You can make it 100 points, whatever you'd like, okay? So I think, let's see how many questions were on that. I have to remember. I'm gonna open that really quick. So if you need to refer back to that document, it will allow you to open it up and look. So it looks like there's 10 questions. I'm not gonna have my students do the bottom optional parts. So there's 10 questions, that's perfect, it's 10 points. Now, you can select a due date. So if you come here, a calendar pops up. Like I said, probably not doing anything academic until the second week of school. So I'm gonna go ahead and have it due the second week. You can choose the time if you'd like. You can attach a rubric. So if this is a writing assignment and you have a specific writing rubric that you like to use for your class, you can use that rubric. Okay, I skipped the spot. I forgot that I can put this in my topics. You'll see, and I think I forgot to talk to you guys, I made a resource topic where you can put just resources for your students. Like I said, maybe like a multiplication chart, or maybe a sight word chart, something like that, that could go in that topic. But in this case, this is an assignment for my students to do week 2. So I want it to go in that week, okay? I'm not going to add a rubric. Down here, check for plagiarism. This is really important for teachers that are at the higher level where they have students that are writing papers. You're only allowed to have this plagiarism checked on 3 assignments at a time. I'm not going to go into great detail, but if you want to learn more about that tool, it's awesome. You can click that learn more. Okay, so now, do I want my students to see this assignment today? School hasn't even started. We're not even in the first week of school. I don't want them to see this assignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to schedule this assignment. So I'm going to click on schedule. And I don't want them to see this assignment until the second week of school on Monday at 8 a.m. is perfect. So I can choose the date and time that I want it to appear on Google Classroom. It's going to show up for me, but it's going to say scheduled. The students will not see it until it is assigned to them. So you can schedule in advance, which is really nice. Okay, so now you can see that one that I just added is here. You can see I previously added this before, and I went ahead and I just assigned it. Okay, so students have access to this. See how this is kind of gray and it says scheduled? That's because it's only showing for me, not my students. Okay, so now what else can you do? There's so many things you can do with assignments. What I showed you is very, very small example of what you can do. You can put those interactive Google Slides in assignments. You can use Google Docs. You can have them create their own thing. So in this, if you create an assignment and you just want your students to create their own document, they'll have a create tab. And when they go into the assignment, they can create their own document. You don't have to give them something to interact with. You can just tell them to create their own document and write a paragraph about their summer, something like that. So you don't have to use this tool. And I don't think I went into everything. I inserted something from Google Drive. This is also where you can share a link with them. If you just want them to watch a video, you can share a link with them. If you want to know if they watch the video, then you would create it as an assignment. And then after they're done watching the video, they can click turn in. You can insert a file, which is going to pull any file off of your computer. But like I said before, it's best if it's some type of Google document. If it's just a Microsoft Word document that you want them to see or a PowerPoint that you want them to watch, that's fine. They'll be able to do that. If you want to share a YouTube link with them, this will take you actually to a YouTube search. So if you're looking for a specific video, you can do that here. Most teachers, though, find YouTube on its own and they just add it as a link. Okay. And again, your students can create their own documents that tie into their assignments by clicking that create button when they're in. Okay. How are we doing? Am I going too fast? Are there any questions? I know we only have 12 minutes. Okay.
No questions right now.
All right. Okay, so maybe I'm going too slow. Maybe I'm not giving you guys enough. Okay, so again, when I showed you how you could choose specific students to assign things to, that might be a really handy tool for RSP teachers. If they're added to your Google Classroom, they can hop in and they can give assignments to just their RSP kids in your class. They can also be in that teacher's class, but if we need to differentiate instruction for students, that's a great way to be able to do it. And then I wanted to go over a quiz assignment. So this is going to be how you can create a Google form, and some of you took that class. If you didn't take that class, I highly recommend that you go in and you watch that video that's going to be posted on that class. You can create a quiz on the fly here, or you can go into your account, your Google Drive here, and you can create your own form beforehand. So like I said, this button is just here if you want to make a quiz for your students on the fly, okay? So it's going to create that blank form. You can title it, you can work on it, and then you can assign it right then and there. So that's what that option is going to be under the Create tab, okay? You can just post a question. If you just want your kids to answer one question, you can type a question in here. You can allow them to have a short answer question or a multiple choice question. You can give them specific instructions about how to answer that question. You'll see that the options over here are the same except for this one. Students can reply to each other. Students can edit their answer. Okay, again, preference there. Do you want students to reply to each other? Do you want to allow students to edit their answer after they've already turned it in? Totally preference there. Okay. Then, and those are all going to, you saw that you have the option to post those into a topic as well. So how do you want that organized? If you put no topic, then it's just going to be put in the stream for them to see, okay? So no topic means it's not gonna go in any of your little sections here, okay? It's just gonna be kind of up here under all topics. Okay, material. This is what I would use to put in my resource topic over here. So if I have resources that I need my students to have, that would be a material that they need to have. Okay, and again, that's just something that you need them to be able to see, not interact with. This reuse post is great. You can use the reuse post. If you did an assignment last year on your Google Classroom and you want to use it again this year, you can click reuse post. And I'm going to go up to this little arrow because I'm still in just my test class. And I want to go to all of my classes. You can see here that I can use an archived class. So if I click on the archived class, I'll be able to access anything that I posted in that class before. Okay, so remember how I told you it was safe to archive? That's why. Okay, so let's say I go in here and I have this math chart that I posted to this class already. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to reuse it for this class. So now it pops up into its own assignment. I had just put test. There's no actual math chart here because I was just using an example. And do I want it to go in my resource topic again because I've already posted this? Maybe I want to post it again under week 1 because I have an assignment that goes along with that. So I can add the same thing in 2 different spots. So if you need to add a resource for your students in 2 different spots, you can do that. Yeah, so I can click post. And you'll see that that math chart is now there for students to use during week 1 if they need it. But it's also in resources for later if they need to find that resource. Okay, now I covered all of these. Are there any questions about those?
Not about those, but 2 questions that came in. One is, where in Google Classroom would a teacher post their class syllabus?
I would post that under resources. So I would create a topic and put that under resources.
Okay.
And when you post that to resources, that's going to show up. Let me show you. So all this stuff that I've been busy doing, you can see it's showing up on the class stream. So when your student comes in, they're going to say, oh, my teacher posted the syllabus for our class. And you can see it has that little ribbon on there that shows that it's a resource. And you can, when you're doing a Zoom meeting, you can show your students that it's saved under the resource topic for them to be able to access. And then what was the other question?
The other question is, where does the teacher find students' login information for Clever?
Oh, that's a good question. So everybody can go to portal.cusd.com. Okay. And this is where you would type in, I don't have a roster and I don't know if you guys have rosters yet. Sorry, my throat's dry. But you can come in here and you can type in your name as a teacher and you will get a rostered list of your whole class. Let me just, I know some of my teacher people are in here and they're probably like, why are you using me? So I don't know, like I said, if the rosters have been loaded. They're not. So normally a list of students would come up here, but the rosters are not loaded into the portal yet. It may be that some other schools have their rosters where you go to get your students' usernames. That's where you go to reset your students' passwords. A lot of our older students are going to be able to change their password on their own, but that's going to be something that comes up because we always have our students change their passwords once a year. There is documentation to help you guys through this. There is a link on the CUSD website for parents to be able to help their students change their password from home. If a student is checking out a device from the school, most likely they're going to change their password when they're picking up that device. Because if a student is picking up a device from a school, they have to sign into that device before they can take it home. So they're going to have an updated password. Does that cover that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
No more questions right now.
Okay. So I think I covered everything that I was going to cover with you guys today. And I know that was really, really fast. So I'm going to open it up to questions for the last few minutes, and please feel free if anything I talked about today was not clear or you need more examples or anything, feel free to email me what you need. Everything I talked about is in the slide deck. You can see that there's step-by-step instructions where everything is kind of highlighted so you know how to navigate. Let me see, just making sure I covered all this. Okay, oh, you know what I didn't show you guys? I wanted to show you where those folders are in your drive. So when you're in Google Drive, just no judgment zone. Don't pay attention to my drive. It's very, very messy. There's a lot of stuff in here. So you'll see that there is a classroom folder. And I hope you guys know that in Google Drive, if you want to make your folders fancy and different colors, you can assign them a color by right-clicking on them. So if you want that classroom folder to be a certain color, you can right-click and change the folders in there. So lots of us like to color code things. So if I click in there, you can see there's a folder for all of my classes. So this was the one I created with you today. Okay, so that's going to house all of the assignments that are in there. Now, one thing that I didn't show you guys is what does it look like when students complete an assignment. So I'm going to come in here and, sorry, my Zoom stuff keeps coming up here while I'm trying to go to different tabs. Okay, so let's go to, you have to actually click view assignment. I clicked on the document on accident. So you can see that I only have one student that has turned this in, but this is going to be your view of student work when you've given assignments. So these students have not completed this assignment. I can really quickly see who's done it, who's not. I can give credit here for students that have done it. When you are checking student work, it's going to open it up into like a teaching or a correcting view. So if this student has finished it, I can grade it here. You can see that I've added a comment. So you can click right here to add a comment, and I put good job, you only missed one. There was 2 that were flip-flopped on here. I could go into more detail of what they missed and how they missed it. But whenever you have a comment on a page, it's going to pop up over here. And if I had more students work in here, they would show up under here. And to go correct the next students, I can just click here on the arrow and it's going to take me to the next student's page. And I can add comments here that's going to go to the student's email. Okay, so I can actually return this to the student if I feel like they need to try again. There's a lot that goes with the grading, and I wish I had more time to cover that. So I can return that to them. I can return multiple ones to them. So there's going to be a whole nother video on grading and all of that fun part, but now you guys know at least how to assign assignments, and stay tuned for tutorial videos from the rest of us tech people on all of this.
And that was one of the questions for people is where do they find those videos?
Those videos are, so in the slide deck, I shared that link. It's in here. Okay, oh, and these ones I added to the slide deck. If you have never watched Pocketful of Primary on YouTube, she's a fantastic teacher and she has really good Google Classroom tips. So I recommend all 3 of these videos to watch her. And this is my slide deck, but I think it was at the beginning that all of these recordings are going to be available here. Okay, so the bit.ly CUSD online learning resources. Okay.
There's a white list of videos that have been previewed and approved by the district.
For what?
Does the district have a list of videos or links that have already been whitelisted, or will it be generated in reference of?
There's not a list of whitelisted YouTube links, like for students, if you're going to share them on Google Classroom. But if you are sharing a YouTube video on Google Classroom, Sherry Johnson can help with that. So if you send actually her or Chris Edmondson the link, they can make sure that it's whitelisted. But I don't think that we have a list anywhere of YouTube videos that have been whitelisted.
And then another question, do you put a Zoom link on Google Classroom?
No. Well, no, yes. Google Classroom is secure. So Zoom links are fine to go on Google Classroom. But what I recommend is adding it to Clever. So to do that, teachers can, when they go into Clever, and I'm to be respectful of everyone's time, if you need to leave the meeting, I know it's after 2, but I'm happy to answer more questions as needed. When teachers have their own Clever page, they can add links. So for example, I have a Nearpod link in here, but if you are wanting to share your Zoom link with your students, you can add them into your Clever teacher page. So if I click here and I click add, I can add a link. And if I have that Zoom link, I can put it in here. And then I can assign an icon, okay, to it. And I know my daughter's teacher did that last year and it worked great. So you can also do that for your Google Classroom. But I mean, I think students should know how to be able to click on that Google G and go to the waffle. But any links that you want your students to have, you can add those in Clever also. And they'll show up on the student's page.
And then is the plus sign and adding a comment different from private comments?
The plus sign, let's see. Okay, who asked that question? Let's see.
Marcy.
I did.
Okay, so
Yeah.
were you talking about when I was viewing student work?
When you viewed student work and you made a comment,
Right.
is that different than doing a private comment versus a comment on the screen with the work attached?
Right, that's a great question. So when I added that comment, I can actually place it somewhere specific. So if I want to, if maybe a student forgot their topic sentence, I can specifically tell them that. And then when you add the comments, you can, the students can mark it as resolved when they see that. So if you're asking them to do something specific to fix that assignment, they can mark it as done. And that will show you that you know that they saw that comment, okay? So this comment here may be better as just a private comment to them, just like you did a good job. So when you add a comment here, it usually is if you want them to fix something. Does that make sense?
Rita's just kind of gave us an update that if you had a video whitelisted last year, it should still be whitelisted. But yeah.
Yes. If you've already had a video whitelisted, you should be able to share it again with no problem.
So, yeah, thank you. And then there was a question about how to convert a Word document into a Google Doc.
Oh, okay. So if you go, what was that?
And that was the last question we got so far.
Okay. And Gary, if you need to go, I can take it from here because I'm sure you're a busy guy too.
Yeah, thanks. Go ahead and you get to. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do is if I need to make a Word document like a Google Doc, it doesn't always play nice, but this is where if you have anything on your computer that's not already in your Google Drive, you would either do a file upload or a folder upload. So this is how you would get it into your Google Drive, and it will give you an option to convert it to a Google Doc. Sometimes when there's a lot of like pictures or things are kind of spaced out differently, it doesn't always play nice, like I said. Okay. All right, so how are we doing? Does anybody else have questions before I let you go?
I do have a question. It's about the bitmoji thing that I'll ask at the very end.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll let everybody ask about the Google Classroom, but then I do have that bitmoji question.
You got it. I'll stay on for you.
Okay.
Okay, so Joanne, I just wanted to clarify. So when you're uploading a file, say I got something off of Teacher Pay Teacher that goes along with our benchmark and it's already digitally formatted and everything, then I'm going to go ahead and go to folder upload and upload all of that information into one file.
Yeah. So I'll
Okay.
show you what that looks like on my end. So if I
thank you.
click file upload, that's just going to be choosing one thing. So for example, I haven't put this picture, this Bitmoji classroom yet in my Google Drive. I have it as a Google slide, but not just the picture. I can also go into my documents and choose something. So I'm going to go ahead and click open. Then Google's going to, it's just going to put it into my drive. Okay, so I didn't select a folder or anywhere for it to go. So that was just to put, I'm going to minimize this again, sorry. Okay, so if I look down, and I always go to my recent, if I can't find something once I put it into my Google Drive, I can see it there. And then you should be able to right click it, and then you can move it. So if I want to move that to one of my drive folders, I can go to my drive, click on this arrow, and it's going to give me all my Google Drive folders. So maybe I want to put it in this distance learning folder. I can click on that folder, click on the arrow, okay? And then, I'm not seeing this screen here. Oh. Okay, now it just disappeared, but there was a move button that I just missed. So you can move things once you've uploaded them, or for example, if I go into my drive and I know I have something that I want to put in my website, I can specifically come to that folder. Okay, and you can do lots of right clicking, okay? So I was looking to see if there was a button within the folder where you could upload something specifically into the folder, but I think you have to upload it and then place it in a folder. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yep. So yeah, that's where, and if you have something already stored in a folder and on your computer, you can upload that whole folder and it's going to be a folder in your Google Drive. I recommend backing up anything that's on your computer like that. Well, we have the Office 365 that syncs everything, but anything that you're going to want to use, like with Google Classroom, it's good to put on into your drive. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, do other people want to see how to do a Bitmoji classroom? Is that why people are staying? Okay. All right, so feel free to go if you want to go. But I did share, I think I put that in the slide deck. Let's see. I feel like I had put that in there my last session because people asked for that.
I had made a Bitmoji, I actually made one. I was like excited because I went on YouTube and I watched how to do it. So I made one. It's sitting in my Google Drive, but
Right.
I don't know how to take it from there and put it in my classroom.
Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. So do you ever use the snipping tool? Do you know what the snipping tool is?
No.
Oh, it's life-changing. I use it every day, multiple times a day. I don't know how I would survive without it, to be honest. So I will show you how to get it. I'm going to actually get rid of this if it allows me. I'm still like trying to figure out, and just like you guys will be with your kids, navigating all these windows open at the same time. Okay. Come here. All right, so I already had something. So your snipping tool, everyone has it, and everyone should use it, and everyone should pin it to their tool or their taskbar at the bottom, because you'll use it all the time if you know it's there. Okay, so if you go to your magnifying glass and you type in snipping tool, it's gonna pop up, okay? So before you click on it, and I actually train students how to use this all the time too, you're going to right click it. So while you have it up, instead of just regular clicking, like left click, you're gonna do a right click, and you're going to, yours should say pin to taskbar. And then yours will be down here on your taskbar like mine is, because I use it all the time. I just want it there at one click, okay? This is another thing that you could do if you were wanting, like if you have a PDF or something and you only want part of it for your students, this would be a way to kind of cut it up too. Okay, so snipping tool. Now, I have in my recent, I have my Bitmoji classroom. I'm gonna minimize you guys again here. I should have it as a slide though. Let's see. Okay, well, it's not showing up right now. See, this is what this is where I'm embarrassed. My Google Drive is ridiculous. See, oh, there it is. Okay, so I need to get in and organize some stuff, but I'm always on the fly here. So here is mine, and so I don't think that for some reason the video wasn't in my slide deck, so I'm gonna have to find that and put that in there for you. So what I recommend doing after you've created this Bitmoji classroom is I recommend coming in with the snipping tool, and you'll click new. And then what you can do with the snipping tool, anytime you want to take a picture of something, you can just take a picture of it like that. So use the snipping tool, and then you'll want to save that picture. So anytime you want a piece of a picture, or like you want to just take a little screenshot, I recommend that snipping tool. Another thing that you can do with the snipping tool is that you can annotate right on it. So this is how, when I do tutorials for teachers, like when they say, hey, I went to this website, but I can't find what I want, I'll take a picture, and then I'll just circle what it is that they need to find. So snipping tool is great. It's probably going to be great for you to use with your students too. Okay. How are we doing? I see that there's stuff in the chat, but was it anything that I didn't cover? So anybody feel free to unmute and talk freely now. Any other questions? Let's see.
Okay, so you've used the snippet tool, so you are gonna now save it. And
yeah, sorry, I didn't end up saving it, so I can do that again. So yeah, I just used the snipping tool. I clicked new, I snipped it, and then it gives you options of what you want to do with it. So you can save it, which is what you just click that little disk, and you can save it to your computer, and then you can upload it into your drive. But even if you have it just saved, even if it's just saved on your computer, you can still apply that to your theme. So see how I already did save this to my class, all right, and that's how I didn't have it in my drive yet. I had just saved it to a file on my computer. And when I was in Classroom, when I went to select the theme, you can actually, wait, sorry, I meant to click upload photo. So now I click cancel. So upload photo, and you can select a photo from your computer.
So you can't upload from your drive then. You can't access that to your drive, right?
Yeah, that's funny. I guess I never really realized that, or maybe it's because I don't have,
Okay.
you'd be able to, if you had it open, you'd be able to drag it in here. So let's see. So I had saved it as a picture right here, or a JPEG.
Mm-hmm.
And then, let's see, if I open it like this, I wonder if it will allow me to grab it. No, it's just allowing me to select it. So once it's, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. That's weird. I've never had that question before, and I guess I've always just had a picture on my computer.
Okay.
Because I don't see any other button. Because normally there would be an option for Google Drive here. So I guess it's either from your computer, which doesn't make sense because usually Google wants you to use everything within Google, you know? So yeah. But anyway.
Thank you.
Else? Yeah, you guys are welcome. And feel free, I know you guys have your own Tectosas, but we all work together. We're all friendly and we all like to share. So we're constantly sharing things with each other. So yeah.